The morning of the funeral was heavy with silence. The sky was gray, matching the weight in my heart. I had lost my son, my only child, the boy I had held in my arms, the boy whose laughter had once filled every corner of my home. And now he lay in a coffin I had dreamed of standing beside, offering my last goodbye. I walked into the funeral hall, my legs trembling with grief. Flowers lined the walls, condolences whispered in corners, and yet the world around me blurred. All I saw was him, my son, lying still, pale and silent. My heart ached each step closer to him, a stab of pain. Then I saw her, my daughter-in-law Annika. Her eyes, sharp and unyielding, met mine. For a moment I thought she would step aside, allow a mother to mourn. But the moment passed like a cruel wind. "You can't be here," she said, her voice cold, deliberate. "This is my son's funeral. You're not welcome." I froze. My hands trembled. I am his mother. I raised him. I have the right to be here. My voice cracked as I spoke, my words desperate, raw. She didn't flinch. Her friends, standing nearby, whispered and nodded. Within moments, two of them gently but firmly guided me toward the exit. I stumbled, disbelief mingling with my grief. How could someone I had once welcomed into my home betray me so completely? How could she deny me the last act of love for my son? Outside, the cold air bit my face. My tears mixed with the drizzle, blurring my vision. I sank into my car, clutching tissues I barely used, my mind spinning in anger, hurt, and confusion. The night had not even begun, yet it felt like the darkest hour of my life. Alone in the darkness, I stared at my phone. Memories of my son flashed before me. His first steps, his laughter, the times I had protected him from the world. And then the realization hit me like lightning. I would not let this betrayal go unanswered. Not for me. Not for him. I made a decision that night, one born from sorrow and sharpened by rage. I would reclaim the respect and dignity that had been stolen from me. And if Annika thought she had the power to erase me from my son's final moments, she was gravely mistaken. By the time the streetlights flickered and the city slept, my plan had begun to take shape. This was only the beginning. The night after the funeral felt endless. My room was dark, lit only by the dim glow of a street lamp through the window. I sat at the edge of my bed, my son's picture in my hand, my heart breaking all over again. I kept asking myself the same question. How did everything come to this? I had lost my son, and then I lost my right to grieve him. But grief does something strange when it mixes with betrayal. It sharpens, it hardens, and in that hardening, something else is born: clarity. I wiped my tears slowly, breathing in deeply. I had spent years helping people, neighbors, distant relatives, even strangers who had needed a hand. I never asked for anything in return, but tonight I would. My fingers hovered over my phone before finally dialing a number I hadn't used in years. "Hello?" a deep voice answered, wary at first. "It's me," I whispered, my voice trembling but steady. "I need your help." There was a brief silence, then the tone of the man shifted instantly. "Say no more. What happened?" I told him everything: being dragged out of my son's funeral, the humiliation, the cruelty, the silence of everyone who watched and did nothing. Every word tasted bitter. "So she thinks she can erase you?" he asked quietly. "She already tried," I replied. "But I won't let her succeed." He didn't need more explanation. "I owe you my life. Whatever you need, consider it done." After I hung up, I made 2 more calls. Then another and another. Doors opened again, doors I had helped build for others years ago. Favor by favor. Debt by debt, loyalty by loyalty. By midnight, 4 people were already moving. Information was being collected. Records were being checked. Contacts inside offices, in social circles, even in Annika's workplace. Everyone started whispering, observing, reporting. And the more I learned, the clearer the picture became. Annika wasn't grieving. She wasn't broken, no. She was calculating, planning. My son's death had given her something she wanted, something she had been waiting for: power, control, freedom from anyone who could challenge her, question her, or expose her. And I was the biggest threat to her mask. As I listened to the reports that trickled back, a cold understanding settled into me. This wasn't just a cruel decision made in grief or anger. She had planned this. She had been waiting to push me out for years. That night, sitting in the dark with the weight of truth pressing down on my chest, I made a promise to myself and to my son's memory. I will not scream. I will not fight publicly. I will not beg anyone for justice. No, I would do what I had always done, quietly, intelligently, with precision. Annika had thrown me out of my son's funeral, but I was going to remove her from the life she had tried to build on lies. Brick by brick, piece by piece, until she stood alone in the ruins she created. And when she finally looked back, desperate and broken, she would realize the truth too late. The call I made that night wasn't a cry for help. It was the beginning of her downfall. Days turned into a quiet storm, one only I could hear, one only she would eventually feel. Annika moved around confidently, attending gatherings, smiling at neighbors, posting mournful pictures of my son on social media, as if she were the only one who had loved him. But underneath that surface, the world around her began to shift, slowly, subtly, painfully. I didn't strike fast. Revenge that burns hot fades quickly, but revenge served cold, drop by drop, breaks even the strongest facade. And Annika's perfect image began to crack. The first sign, a friend of hers, someone she trusted deeply, suddenly stopped replying to her messages. Another avoided her at the grocery store. One of her colleagues started giving her strange looks at work. She didn't understand why, but I did. The quiet whispers had begun, conversations that seemed harmless at first. "You know, I heard. Or is it true that she..." People questioned her behavior at the funeral. Some had even witnessed her ordering me to leave, and now they were being encouraged to speak about it. Not loudly, not publicly, but just enough for her to feel a chill. The second sign, a report reached me from the friend I had called, the one who owed me a lifelong debt. Apparently, Annika had been hiding things, financial decisions she didn't want anyone to know about, a secret she thought she had buried, and now those secrets were quietly being placed in the right ears. People she depended on, people whose trust she needed. They began to doubt her. Doubt is a poison more powerful than any weapon, and doubt spread around her like smoke. The third sign, for the first time since the funeral, Annika called me, not out of guilt, not out of remorse, but out of panic. Her voice wavered, though she tried to mask it. "Did you talk to anyone?" she asked sharply. I let a moment of silence hang between us. Then I replied softly, "Why would I? You made it very clear at the funeral that I'm not part of the family." She went silent, and I knew she felt it. The first real tremor of fear. The unraveling begins over the next few days. More and more people distanced themselves from her. Invitations she once took pride in never arrived. Partnerships she relied on quietly dissolved. Her boss began questioning her credibility. She walked through her days like someone stepping over thin ice, never knowing which moment would collapse under her feet. Her confidence had vanished. She woke up with suspicion. She slept with anxiety. That was my doing. Not loudly, not violently, just precisely, because she didn't just humiliate me. She dishonored my son's memory. And I was ensuring the world saw her not as a grieving widow, but as the cold-hearted woman she truly was. The sweetest part, I didn't need to confront her. I didn't need to raise my voice or prove her cruelty. Her own secrets were betraying her. Her own lies were cornering her. Her own behavior was exposing her. Every tear she shed now, every moment of worry, every instance where she felt the world slipping from her grasp, it was the beginning of a justice far deeper than anything she imagined. And I wasn't done, not yet. The storm had only started. She was about to face the part of revenge she never saw coming, the consequences of underestimating a mother's love and a mother's grief. Weeks had passed since that heart-wrenching funeral. Each day had been a quiet battle, but the tension in Annika's world was palpable, even if she refused to see it. She moved with calculated confidence, attending social gatherings, posting grieving selfies with a carefully composed caption, and portraying herself as the perfect widow. Yet, beneath that polished exterior, cracks were forming, small at first, almost imperceptible, but widening with every passing moment. I had remained in the shadows, watching, waiting. Every call I had made, every subtle hint, every whispered revelation was now rippling through her circle of influence. Friends who once laughed at her jokes now hesitated. Neighbors who had relied on her guidance now subtly ignored her. Even colleagues, people she had considered allies, began to question her credibility. The illusion of control she had so meticulously built was slipping through her fingers. The first real sign came during a seemingly ordinary family gathering she had orchestrated to honor my son. She had invited everyone, hoping to cement her image as a grieving widow in charge. But the moment she stepped into the room, I could feel the shift. The people around her, friends, relatives, colleagues, were no longer under her spell. Eyes darted away, whispers floated across the room, and subtle glances of doubt began piercing her perfect mask. Then it happened. A close friend, one who had once sided with her without question, quietly asked, "Annika, why did my mother have to leave the funeral?" The words were simple, almost casual, but the room froze. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Every eye turned toward her, scrutinizing, waiting. Annika's carefully constructed facade faltered. Her mouth opened, then closed. She tried to smile, to offer some rehearsed explanation, but nothing came out that could salvage the moment. The first real tremor of fear crossed her face. More revelations followed, subtle but devastating. Secrets she had kept hidden, small manipulations, lies. Financial missteps were now surfacing in conversations at the right time, with the right people. People she had trusted implicitly were now questioning her integrity. Invitations she once received were quietly redirected elsewhere. Partnerships she had relied on crumbled under the weight of whispered doubts. Each small betrayal I orchestrated had been carefully calculated, and now they were coming together, forming a mosaic of consequences she could not escape. As the evening ended, Annika walked out of the gathering alone. Her confidence had evaporated, leaving her exposed and vulnerable. Friends who had once flocked to her side were now distant, unsure. Even her closest confidants looked at her differently, with suspicion and unease. The power she thought she had over the family and social circles was gone. She had been toppled, not with a scream, not with violence, but with precise, quiet strategy, the kind only a mother driven by grief and love could execute. I watched her from a distance, not with hatred, but with the quiet satisfaction of someone who had been denied their right to grieve. I had reclaimed my voice, my dignity, and most importantly, my son's honor. The grief was still there, it always would be, but it no longer felt powerless. Later that night, I sat in my living room with a warm cup of tea, staring at my son's photograph. I whispered into the silence, "I did this for you, my boy. They will never take your mother from you again." The phone call I had made that night, the network I had quietly activated, the careful orchestration of events, they had all led to this moment. Annika had thought she could erase me, control the narrative, and humiliate me. But in the end, it was she who had been erased, from her illusions, her pride, and the respect of those around her. For the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to breathe deeply, to cry openly, and to feel peace. Revenge had not been an act of malice. It had been an act of justice. My son's memory was honored, my dignity restored, and I had proven to the world and to myself that a mother's love is stronger than cruelty, stronger than deceit, and stronger than even the darkest betrayal.